You knew Jeffrey Epstein, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. We flew Bill Clinton.
Chris Tucker that we got now is Epstein Island Chris Tucker. Not Smokey.
Not Smokey? They got Smokey in the motherfucking pictures too? No wonder this man gave his life to Christ. We ain't about to get Rush Hour 4 anymore. They about to rush his ass to prison. Let me stop because I don't know if he did anything, but fool. Cat Williams.
After years of denying any connection to Jeffrey Epstein, Chris Tucker is back in the spotlight, this time due to explosive claims made by Cat Williams. Cat recently accused Tucker of allegedly being involved in activities tied to Epstein's Island, reigniting long-standing online rumors that had previously faded from public attention. Fans online are now questioning Tucker's dramatic fall from grace. At one point he was among the highest-grossing actors in Hollywood, but in recent years he's largely stepped away from the industry. Some critics argue that his public embrace of religion and pro-Christian messaging was an attempt to distance himself from controversy, though others believe it hasn't erased unanswered questions from his past. Things intensified further after authorities reportedly released portions of Epstein-related files, while not confirming every rumor circulating online, added fuel to the ongoing speculation. For many viewers, this was enough to reopen discussions about Tucker's sudden disappearance from Hollywood. What continues to stand out is how abruptly Chris Tucker walked away at the height of his career. He never fully explained why he left the industry, and he famously declined to return for another installment of Friday, despite massive fan demand. At the time, Tucker said he simply wasn't interested, but now critics are re-examining that decision under a different light. Whether these allegations lead to concrete consequences remains to be seen, but with Cat Williams publicly calling him out and renewed attention on Epstein-related documents, Chris Tucker's past is once again under intense scrutiny, and this time, the internet isn't letting it go quietly.
I want to do another one because Cube, of course, it's like, he kind of created Fridays, and I was in the first one. Yeah. And Cube, after I did the first Fridays back then, I never thought about doing sequels. I always wanted to do a good job and keep moving to the next movie. So Cube asked me back in, I think it was 96 or 97. He's Chris, we want to do another Fridays, man. And I was just like, nah, I don't want to do another Fridays. I want to do like Eddie Murphy and them did. I want to do Money Talks. I did Money Talks, and then eventually did Rush Hour. I said, I don't want to do another. He said, what? You sure? I was like, nah, I don't want to do another. So he couldn't believe it, but he kept moving, and he got Mike Epps, and they went and did another one, and it was great. He did two of them. And they were.
Even though Chris Tucker later said he didn't want to do sequels anymore, that explanation doesn't really hold up. Right after turning down another Friday film, he went on to star in Rush Hour, followed by Rush Hour 2, Rush Hour 3, and even a fourth installment. So clearly, the issue was never about sequels. That's when people started to suspect there was something deeper going on, something Chris didn't want to openly talk about. Fans and industry watchers began digging, trying to understand why he seemed to be distancing himself from Hollywood at that time. The main explanation that surfaced was religion. Many believed Chris had undergone a personal change and was trying to live a more faith-focused lifestyle. Chris himself added to that theory when he explained that one reason he didn't want to return to Friday was because a lot of people involved in the movie smoked heavily, and he no longer felt comfortable being around that environment. Still, for many people, that answer only explained part of the story and left even more questions unanswered.
Not talked about being in next Friday, because I know it was Mike Epps, but
we wanted him. He turned it down. Yeah, we wanted to pay him $12 million to do that movie.
What?
And he turned it down. He said it was for religious reasons. He didn't want to cuss, and he didn't want to smoke weed on camera.
But here's where things really take a wild turn. According to newly resurfacing details, it doesn't look like Chris Tucker stepped away from Hollywood only for religious reasons. At least not according to what's been circulating online. Word on the street is that his disappearance may be tied to his alleged connection to Jeffrey Epstein. Chris Tucker's name reportedly appears in Epstein-related documents and flight logs, with claims that he was on Epstein's private jet back in 2002, the same jet that was frequently used to travel to and from Epstein's now infamous island. When questions started surfacing, Chris and his team attempted damage control, saying he was only on that flight as part of a humanitarian trip to Africa focused on AIDS awareness and charity work. They also claimed he traveled alongside Bill Clinton and Kevin Spacey, but online critics weren't convinced. Bringing up Bill Clinton didn't help the optics either, especially after photos surfaced showing Clinton inside Epstein's mansion, looking far too comfortable for many people's liking. To a lot of observers, it raised one uncomfortable question: how could someone be around Epstein and not know what was really going on? That's what made the explanation information harder for some people to accept. Chris was allegedly moving in those same circles during the time, yet we're expected to believe he had absolutely no idea what was happening behind closed doors. And when Chris was finally asked directly about Epstein in interviews, viewers noticed something else: his demeanor. He appeared visibly uncomfortable, struggling to maintain composure, stumbling over his words, and brushing the topic off as quickly as possible. Many watching that nervous energy spoke louder than his answers ever could.
Jeffrey Epstein, didn't he?
Yeah, I did. We flew Bill Clinton and a lot of different. That was a humanitarian trip to Africa, and I met him on that trip because it was his plane. I didn't know who plane we was getting on, but it was a whole bunch of dignitary people. We was with a delegation, and I met him, and you don't know people what they do in their private lives, so yeah.
But tell me this, Chris. You was on this private plane, and you could tell that it was a private plane because they called it, was it Lolita Express?
Oh yeah, it was a private plane. Yes. Oh yes.
But wait a minute. You didn't never go to that island, did you?
No. I don't know where that thing at.
One person said, "How do you explain something like this and still expect people to just forgive you?" Another added, "Now it all makes sense why he suddenly turned super religious after Friday." Those reactions pretty much summed up how a lot of people felt. Instead of sympathy, there was skepticism. For many fans, the timing didn't feel like a personal awakening. It felt like a cover story.
Freaking bitch. Please tell me this is AI. Please tell me this is AI, bruh. Please tell me this is Ellen Iverson. Say, Moby. This is what you need to talk about, the fentanyl face, ho. This is what you want to talk about. Bitch, talk about.
Another reason people never believed Chris's humanitarian explanation is because this wasn't the first time his name had been linked to Epstein. Long before the documents surfaced, Cat Williams had already accused him of getting mixed up with Epstein. Most people brushed it off and said Cat was just being bitter or jealous. Now it looks like Cat was simply saying it too early for anyone to listen. Back in January 2024, Cat talked about this during an interview on Shannon Sharp's Club Shay Shay podcast. The conversation came up while they were discussing the possibility of a new Friday movie. Cat made it clear that the Chris Tucker people see today isn't the same person he once knew. He said that if he didn't have inside knowledge, he would probably be one of the people who believed Chris was a genuinely good guy too. Cat made it clear that his perspective was different. He wasn't speaking from rumors or public image. He was speaking from experience. Now, with everything coming out, a lot of people are realizing Cat wasn't throwing random shot. He was warning folks long before the rest of the story started to unravel.
Tucker that we got now is Epstein Island Chris Tucker, not Smokey.
Oh, Lord.
Whew. If I didn't know no better, I'd tell you he's the greatest. I don't care what you say. To be confident and not delusional is a real skill. Most of these confident people we see is really delusional.
Well, you don't think they asked Chris Tucker to come back in the second Friday? Smokey was all in Smokey. There ain't no Friday without Smokey.
We all agree to that, and there's no next Friday without Friday, and there's no Friday after next without
Friday. We talk about the road because you said that they don't...
Here's the thing. Okay. Here's the thing. Chris was allowed to make the decision. At the time that this is happening, Cat Williams is known for smoking weed. Willie Nelson is known for smoking weed. Right. Snoop's known for smoking weed. But none of us is really known except Willie. And I'm saying... Chris Tucker didn't want to be the poster child for smoking weed. He don't smoke weed like that.
Right.
He in the church. He Michael Jackson's best friend. Christmas. Michael Jackson called him Christmas. You ever met a man that gave you a little nickname like that?
No.
Me neither.
Like I said before, when Cat first made those comments, most people didn't understand what he was talking about. At the time, it sounded confusing or even unfair. But now people are starting to get it. And honestly, it's not looking good for Chris at all. The fact that Chris felt the need to rush out and address this situation less than one day after the Epstein files were released says a lot. That doesn't look calm or confident. That looks like panic. And the scary part for him is this story isn't finished yet. The Epstein documents are are still being released every other day. More names, more details, more connections keep coming out. If there's anything else in those files with Chris's name on it, he might want to prepare people now. Because if it turns out his connection to Epstein went beyond the humanitarian trip excuse, then it's a wrap. He's done. Of course, the internet had plenty to say about it. One person commented, "Man, if you don't shut your lying tail up, Chris, you're in a bunch of pictures, not just one. You know what you were doing too." Another person broke it down like this: "That's like saying I'm flying to Africa, but the devil's private jet just happens to be there, and I decide to hop on it. Nah, you've got money. You could have taken your own plane." Someone else added an even sharper take, saying innocent people don't react the way Chris did. They said, "Innocent people don't fake laugh when something this disgusting comes up. If you were truly innocent, you'd be angry, not nervous and joking it off." So now I want to hear from you. What do you think about Chris getting exposed for allegedly being connected to Epstein? Do you actually believe he was only on that plane for humanitarian reasons? Or does the story feel off to you too? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to click over and check out that other messy video, because this situation is far from over.